So, it's helpful to understand the difference between left hand and right hand limits. We've been talking about it has to converge, it has to be approaching the same thing from both sides. Well, those sides actually have a name. The left hand limit, which is denoted, notice that little x approaches c negative, is saying what is x approaching as c comes in from the left side. It's read as the limit of f of x is f. The limit of f of x as x approaches c from the left. Over here, the right hand limit, x approaches c positive. We're talking about approaching it from this right side. It's read as the limit of f of x as x approaches c from the right. And so understanding now what we call a left-hand limit and a right-hand limit, the definition of a limit, of a two-sided limit. Any limit as for a function as x approaches c exists if and only if both one-sided limits exist and are equal. If we're approaching the same thing from the left and the right, that's how we've been finding our limit, and our limit only exists if we're approaching the same thing from both sides. If we're not approaching the same thing from both sides, the limit doesn't exist at all. So that's what we have to check. So here it says, estimate each one-sided or two-sided limit if it exists. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the graphs up for these. So we could find the graphs. You could type this first one. You could type it into your calculator. Even you could pull out a table of values. But we should be able to get a graph that looks like this. That's what it looks like. So first, we're looking for the value as x approaches 0 from the left side. That's our left-hand limit. And as we approach 0 from the left side, notice what we're getting close. Our outputs are consistently -2. Notice that our outputs are -2, -2, -2. As we get closer and closer to 0, it's still approaching -2. Even though at 0, there's nothing, there's an open circle right there, as we get closer and closer to 0, the outputs are just consistently -2, -2, -2. So the limit as we approach 0 from the left side is a -2. As we approach 0 from the right side, well, the outputs are 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So as we're getting closer and closer to 0, our outputs are just 2. The limit as x approaches 0, it's approaching -2 from one side, it's approaching +2 from the other. So this does not exist because it's not approaching the same thing from both sides. Down here, this is a piecewise function. It says g of x equals 4 for any value of x as long as it's not a -3. That's what it says. But g of x equals -2 at one value at -3. So we want to know first, what is the value of x as it approaches -3 from the left side? So we're approaching -3 from the left side. We're getting out 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. We're not talking about equaling -3. We're talking about getting closer and closer to -3. Our outputs are consistent. They're a 4. And then we're talking about approaching -3 from the right side. So from the right side, we're getting out a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4, a 4. We keep getting out 4s. We're never actually talking about equaling -3. We're talking about getting closer to -3. And the whole time, the output is a 4. So it's just approaching 4s. It's approaching 4 from both sides. So what is our limit as x approaches -3? Talking about the two-sided limit here. It approaches 4. They're approaching the same thing from both sides, so the limit does exist. The limit is 4.